A pleasant good evening from Morovia and welcome to King's News Broom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and elsewhere. I'm Stephen Compton. First, the headlines. National AIDS Commission dismisses social media reports claiming that Duporo community is a major hotspot for AIDS, the HIV and AIDS infections. The Commission calls on the public to refrain from the spreading of misinformation. Former employee of the Ministry of Labor accuses Minister Cooper Crowd of merging in tribal favoritism in the ministry. Reverend Thomas Jones says the minister's alleged act contribute to poor labor practices and declining performance of the ministry. Also coming up in the news, several taxpayers reported left stranded for days due to alleged abrupt closure of the Liberia Revenue Authority payment window at the judiciary branch in Monrovia. Away from home, Guinean soldiers say they have taken state power after report of the president's arrest. Details of these developments, the news bulletin, and the voices of the news makers are all packaged. We are taking a very short break to be right back. Welcome back. Up next is the bulletin of news with Sam Andrews.
The National AIDS Commission has dismissed social media reports alleging that the Dupo Road community is a major hotspot for HIV and AIDS infections. The Commission clarification follows its recent announcement, which detailed a nationwide increase in reported HIV and AIDS cases. The update sparked public debate, with some social media users suggesting that Dupo Road hosts a high number of people living with the virus. Speaking Monday on state radio, the manager of the National AIDS Control Program, Jonathan Flomo, refuted the claims. According to him, the commission has not identified any specific community as having a higher concentration of HIV and AIDS cases. He added that the circulating reports were intended to stigmatize Dupo Road community and the residents. Mr. Flomo urged the public to refrain from spreading misinformation, warning that such stigmatization can cause significant psychological harm to individuals living with HIV and residents of targeted community. The program manager also encouraged the public to adhere to all recommended preventive measures. He assured that the Ministry of Health, along with its partners, is working on strategies to address the rising cases and strengthen national response efforts. A former employee of the Ministry of Labor, Reverend Thomas Jones, has accused Labor Minister Kopokra of engaging in tribal favoritism within the ministry. In an interview with King's FM Wednesday, Reverend Jones alleged that Minister Kra, driven by tribal sentiment, appointed several individuals believed to be members of the Gio ethnic group to key positions, including the Human Resource Department and the Office of the Deputy Minister for Administration, among others. According to Mr. Jones, these alleged actions have contributed to poor labor practices and declining performance within the Ministry of Labor. He further claimed that since his resignation, the Ministry of Labor has failed to settle his outstanding 7-month salary of 2,000 United States dollars. Reverend Thomas Jones disclosed that he has engaged Minister Cooper Crow and other relevant authorities in an effort to resolve the matter, but said all attempts failed. Several taxpayers are said to have been left stranded for days due to abrupt closure of the Liberia Revenue Authority payment window at the judicial branch of government. According to reports, the shutdown stemmed from the long cashier assigned to the post being on leave with no personnel available to process court fees and other government revenues. The disruption has forced individuals and institutions to reroute payments to the Library Revenue Central Office, but the situation worsened when the Ministry of Finance Office, another key payment point, also closed its doors. The door closure has triggered long queues, delays, and mounting frustration amongst taxpayers trying to meet their obligations. Education Minister Dr. Jaso Jala has reaffirmed the government's commitment to opening pathways that will enable young Liberians to study, excel, and return home ready to transform their country. Addressing students at the Erasmus program, Dr. Jala expressed deep gratitude to the European Union for its continued partnership. She noted the European Union has been well, especially through the Erasmus program, which now stands as a fully accessible gateway for Liberian students pursuing international academic experience. Dr. Jala acknowledged that application processes can sometimes feel challenging or even exclusionary, but it showed the students that they would not navigate the challenges alone. She highlighted the strong wraparound support system built into the Erasmus program designed specifically to help applicants begin, complete, and succeed in their journey. The Liberia former cultural ambassador, Julie Endy, has alarmed what she called increased abuse of Liberian women and children on social media. Ambassador Endy called on the government to end bad practice, adding, it has the propensity to degrade the reputation of women in Liberia. The executive director of Liberia Crusader for Peace said the abuse of women and children on social media has gone beyond human description, emphasizing that something must be done to stop it. Smythe University College is set to join the rest of the universities around the world for the first time to observe stress-free days as a means of prioritizing the physical and mental well-being of students. The chairman of the public committee of the university, Philip Moore, disclosed that the stress-free day, which will be on Friday, is intended to enhance their learning ability and metabolism. Addressing a press conference in Monrovia Tuesday, Moore explained that the activities for the stress-free day will be at the Riverside Resort, where students will be taught the types of foods, release endorphins, and reduce stress. The Liberian government has reinforced its commitment to accelerating national road development following a strategic meeting with a visiting delegation from OPEC Fund for International Development. The OFID delegation, led by Morar Boa, Director of Portfolio Management, Public Sector, Wednesday discussed with Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Ngafan and Public Works Minister Roland Giddings. The discussion focused on sustaining and expanding financing for Banga Meninkoma Highway, a flagship infrastructure project poised to transform connectivity across the country. During the discussion, Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Ngafwa commended the institution enduring partnership and reaffirmed the government's commitment to transparency, timely execution, and strengthened coordination throughout the project cycle. The political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change has called on Liberian organizations in the United States to combine efforts and mount pressure for good governance in order to encourage them to migrate home. Simeon Fremont disclosed that at present, majority of the people elected and appointed in public offices' prime objective is to loot the resources of millions of United States dollars, leaving the ordinary people in abject poverty. The MPC political leader made the call when he delivered the keynote speech marking the induction of the Gentlemen Club of Philadelphia in the United States. Former editor of the Inquirer newspaper, Jawikem Weah, has sharply criticized House Speaker Richard Coon for threatening to jail journalists who will be caught recording without House leadership declaring the session legal. Speaker Coon on Tuesday was heard openly warning reporters covering the legislature to refrain from making unauthorized recordings of private conversations amongst lawmakers before the official opening of the session. Speaker Coon's remarks have sparked mixed reactions within the media community and the broader public. Many have described his comments as an act of intimidation against journalists and a direct assault on freedom of speech and press freedom. Responding to Speaker Coon's warning, we have said the Montserrat County District 11 lawmaker was completely out of order. He argued that Speaker Coon's outburst reflects signs of a creeping dictatorship and attempts at censoring the media. Jawikem Weah urged the Speaker to seek legal redress if he believes any reporter has violated the House's standing rules rather than resorting to threats of imprisonment. The former editor further described the recent impasse at the House of Representatives as anti-democratic, adding it was orchestrated by elements within the ruling establishment seeking to assert political dominance over the country's governance. And the Deputy Minister for International Cooperation and Economic Integration at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Ibrahim Yan, has reaffirmed Liberia's leadership role in global maritime affairs at the 34th session of the International Maritime Organization Assembly. Speaking before representatives from maritime countries around the world, Dr. Yan underscored Liberia's steadfast commitment to strengthening international maritime governance and advancing shared objectives of safety, sustainability, and global cooperation. Dr. Ibrahim Yan highlighted Liberia's impressive accomplishments within the IMO framework, proudly noting that the country's maritime program, supported through strategic global partnerships, has grown into one of the world's most successful maritime administration stories. He also spotlighted the achievements of Liberia's National Training Institute, which has evolved into a premier center of excellence for maritime capacity building and professional development.
Sam Andrews there with the news bulletin. And top stories we are closely following this evening. National AIDS Commission dismisses social media reports claiming that Dupo Road community is a major hotspot for HIV and AIDS infections. The Commission calls on the public to refrain from the spreading of misinformation. Former employee of the Ministry of Labor accuses Labor Minister Cooper Crowd of engaging in tribal favoritism within the ministry. Reverend Thomas Jones says the minister's alleged act contributes to poor labor practices and declining performances of the ministry. Several taxpayers reportedly left stranded for days due to alleged abrupt closure of the Liberia Revenue Authority payment window of the judiciary branch, away from whom a group of military officers say they have seized control of Guinea-Bissau amid reports of the country's president being arrested. Taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you voices of the news makers. Welcome back. Let's not take our first development. The National AIDS Commission has dismissed social media reports alleging that the Duporo community is a major hotspot for HIV and AIDS infections. The Commission's clarifications follow its recent announcement, which detailed a nationwide increase in reported HIV and AIDS cases in the country. The update sparked a public debate with some social media users suggesting that Dupo Road hosts a higher number of people living with the virus. However, speaking on state radio, the manager of the National AIDS Control Program, Jonathan Flomod, refuted the claims.
Finger is stigmatizing,
Yeah.
certain communities, we saw that to be very, very bad. And honestly, we need to desist from those kind of habits. When it comes to HIV, it's confidentiality. Our data are not disaggregated to that extent that you just go to say Dupo is like this, Dupo. You can find that anywhere. So that's one of the information that people, was very misleading.
So that is false.
Very, very false. Very, very false. We can't do that. Our data, there's no way you see our data disaggregated to the extent that you see or Dupo Road community get this, or GSA Road community has this. No, that was completely unfair to the Liberian people. So we want people to desist from the habit of just, spreading false, information when it comes to HIV. We are very passionate about what we do and to ensure that our clients and more people, so that you can be, you can have that encouragement to come and be tested. And the sooner you do it, the better it is, because you are placed on treatment, the medication are absolutely free. Those are medications that are very expensive.
Janitor Flomo is the manager of the National AIDS Commission Control Program. They're dismissing social media reports alleged that the Duporo community is a major hotspot for HIV/AIDS infection. A former employee of the Ministry of Labor, Reverend Thomas Jones, has accused Labor Minister Cooper Crad of engaging in travel favoritism within the ministry. In an interview with King's News on Wednesday, Reverend Jones alleged that Minister Crab, driven by political sentiment, appointed several individuals believed to be members of the Geo ethnic group to key positions, including the Human Resource Department, the Office of the Deputy Minister for Administration, among others. According to Reverend Jones, these alleged actions have attributed to poor labor practices and declining performances at the ministry.
The ministry is like this. Minister is a human. The deputy minister for administration is a human. The assistant minister for administration is a human. The HR is a human. The controller is a human. So the entire administrative cycle ended. Even only if another tribe was there, I believe things would have happened not only in my interest, but in the interest of others within the domain of that ministry. According to human resource diversity, in order to experience efficiency, effectiveness, and administrative practices, you must mix your leadership.
Okay.
When the leadership in a system is mixed, you receive justice, you receive efficiency, you receive effectiveness, you receive cooperation, collaboration, and coordination, because that is human resource diversity. But when that one is been silent and you have just one tribe dominating, I have now reached, it's just portion, it's just a minute portion of the tribal group, and I would like for my salary to be paid. And I know as I speak, they understand my situation. I work for this money, and then workers at the Ministry of Labor that are there to advocate for worker unions and other workers in other entities to ensure that they get their just work, just pay. You get my money there, and you yet to pay me. This is very serious. It is an abuse of the labor law.
The Director General of the Civil Service Agency, Josiah Joka, has claimed that There is no civil servant making less than 150 United States dollars on the government payroll. Jokat emphasized that the government is committed to addressing the welfare of civil servants and employees across the country, noting that about 23,000 workers' salaries are being increased in a significant manner. The CSA boss further noted that thousands of volunteer teachers and health workers have been added to the government's payroll.
And you know, the government is committed to addressing the welfare of civil servants in this country, of employees in this country. So much has been done from improving the salaries. You remember about 23,000 people, essential workers in the education, healthcare, security, agriculture. We top up their salaries in a significant way. We now don't have anybody who's receiving less than $150 on the payroll. Those are significant strides. We got thousands of volunteer teachers and healthcare workers we brought onto the payroll. Up to now, we're still bringing some of them. As a matter of fact, we got allotment from the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning for 829 volunteer health workers that are being placed on the payroll right now as I speak to you. We also got allotment for 1,306 volunteer teachers that we are also putting on the payroll. This is significant. It's very important. So we have to work together. The president always talk about institutional collaboration. That's exactly what we are doing here. So it's very important that we work together. That's one thing I've come to stress and to engage with them on. The other part of it has to do with the president's Young Professionals Program, the PYPP. And you know, I am the chairman of the board of directors of the PYPP. So I'm here with the PYPP leadership in Brown County to sit with the supervisors, the mentors, and the PYPs themselves to make sure that we follow through how they are gaining their experiences at the learning process, understanding how the systems work, so that at the end of the day, these people can take over from people who are about to retire, bring them to change the landscape of the workforce, professionalize.
CSA boss Josiah Joker there speaking. Education Minister Dr. Jaso Jala has reaffirmed the government's commitment to opening pathway that will enable young Liberians to study, excel, and return home ready to transform the country. Addressing students at the Ramon's program, Dr. Jalad expressed deep gratitude through the European Union for its continued partnership. She noted that the European Union has been well, especially through the program, which now stands as a fully accessible gateway for Liberian students pursuing international academic experience.
Working with the EU and the EU ambassador and the EU support, we've been able to have access to the Erasmus program. So Erasmus is here for you. I want you to take advantage of it. If you have questions, ask us. The ministry is open to answering these any questions that you may have in the process, because sometimes these application processes sometimes have their own challenges, and let's be real about it. Sometimes the challenge, one might say, can be exclusionary, but I can tell you that for Erasmus, they have a wraparound support around this program that will help you begin and complete your application process. And if there should be any challenges, Titus is your man to see. He coordinates the Erasmus program here at the Ministry of Education. He's situated in our the Office of Scholarship. They oversee local and international, so he's well versed on these application processes, whether it's international or local. So use his expertise to get you through the process. We're here to support you, to make sure that Liberians can stand the test of going study abroad and coming back and giving back to the development of our country. The Chinese built China. The Americans built America. One can say, okay, America is a microcosm of immigrants, but Liberians must build Liberia. right? And so if we must do so, we must get the requisite educational skills. Academic attainment should be the one that guides and drives us. And if we get that and come back and put the love of Liberia in our hearts, we can advance our country. Our country is small. Our country is rich. There's no reason why we are not prosperous. We can't be prosperous for what we have in our soil and what we can put in our minds to drive the progress of our country. So I say welcome again to the Ministry of Education and to the European Union. We can't say thank you enough for this opportunity. Please extend my thanks to Ambassador Nona for this opportunity to Liberia, and we look forward to our future engagements with the European Union in other initiatives that we're going to promote and advance together.
Former editor of the Inquirer newspaper, Jawinkin Wia, has sharply criticized House Speaker Rich Coon for threatening to jail journalists who will be caught recording without House leadership declaring the session legal. Speaker Coon on Tuesday was heard openly warning reporters covering the legislature to refrain from making unauthorized recording of private conversations among lawmakers before the official opening of the session. The speaker's remark has sparked mixed reaction within the media community and the broader public. Responding to the speaker's warning, Weir said the Monserrato County District 11 lawmaker was completely out of order.
The speaker is not a judge.
Okay.
If he has an issue, he should go to court. There are three distinct branches of government.
Okay.
The purpose of the legislature is to make laws. The executive is the one that enforces the law.
Okay.
And the judiciary is the one. But I see that there's a lot of overlapping in these functions. You see lawmakers ordering the arrest of people. Well, I want for all Liberians to know that no lawmaker has the power to order the arrest of anybody. Okay. If he or she has an issue, they should go to court.
We on this issue, just in a little while, a minute or so, I will appreciate that. You have been following the level of politics in our country. Just in recent time, we witnessed over the past few months, an issue at the House of Representatives led to the burning of the capital.
Where to push what we are talking about now, like pushing the GSM thing we're talking about now, and people wanted to move in, it will not work. But the reason why I say that is that before speaker, you are representative of your district, and it is the district that you are obligated. There's something even the great in the great analysis, no politics is fair. There's a saying in America, they say, if you're scared of smoke, don't get in the kitchen.
Okay.
The harder thing in America. And
former Liberia's cultural ambassador, Judith Andy, has alarmed over what she called increased abuse of Liberian women and children on social media. Ambassador Andy called on the government to end bad practice, adding that it has the propensity to downgrade the reputation of women in the country. The executive director of the Liberia Crusader for Peace said the abuse of women and children on social media has gone beyond human discretion, emphasizing that something must be done to stop it.
Women, children, and persons with disabilities continue to face unacceptable levels of abuse. On this International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, I join the women of Liberia and others around the world to reaffirm our collective responsibility to act. This year, 16 days of activism take calls for action to stop digital violence or digital facilitated gender-based violence as we experienced yesterday. We are now in a digital world, yet women and children digital spaces are not protected legally. What can we do for government and our people to take actions? I know you have a lot going through your mind today, And the UN Resolution 1325 says women should be protected at all levels. Women should be prevented from conflict, from abuse. The same UN Resolution 1325 says women should participate at a level playing, even if it's a political field. The same UN Resolution 1325 said women should be promoted at all levels. It didn't say women should be abused. We are the government of the people, by the people, for the people. So we take responsibility to pass and enforce policies and laws that will make sure digital people who commit perpetrators of digital violence are held accountable. In our technological era, we must learn to respect one another. Where your right stops is where your rights begin.
Among Liberia's cultural Ambassador Judith Andy there speaking. Now, with half an hour past the news presentation, this is a reminder you are listening to the Wednesday, November 26, 2025 edition of King's News Broom. We're taking a very short break to be right back. And now up to this next development, the political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change is called on Liberian organization in the United States to combine efforts and mount pressure for good governance in order to encourage them to mitigate. Simon Freeman disclosed that the present majority of people elected and appointed in public offices, brand objective, is to loot the resources in millions of United States dollars, leaving the ordinary people in abject poverty. The NPC political leader made the call when he delivered the keynote speech marking the induction ceremony of the Gentlemen's Club of Philadelphia in the U.S.
As we celebrate, let us not forget that we are survivors of wars and we must be empathetic and compassionate by ensuring the conditions in Liberia are favorable for better life and prosperity to reverse the trend of migration from these shores back to our motherland. You are assured of a future enabled by your continuous stay in this country, while the land of your nativity is exploited by looters, people with no empathy and compassion. Billions are domestically mobilized and spent for purposes that do not impact the challenges for which resources were collected. The challenge is not how they do what they do. The real problem is how diaspora Liberians, survivors of wars, are reacting to the victims of the very wars they escaped. In many instances, diaspora Liberians, escapees of economic degradation and hopelessness, are facilitators and enablers of bad governance and governments in Liberia. While you and your kids enjoy structures in the diaspora that both guarantees and ensures prosperity for yourselves, you are spectators to the mayhem occurring in our country. You know, the surest way to tackle inequality, hopelessness, and deprivation in Liberia is to install the right leaders if the various diaspora Liberian organizations collaborated on the important task of nation building, Liberia will be a place where people will come from far and wide to see this small but historic country, firstly independent in 1847, with a small population, but leaders in all sorts of development, with justice and opportunities for all of our people.
MPC political leader Samuel Freeman there speaking. The Deputy Minister for International Cooperation and Economic Integration at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abraham Yen, has reaffirmed Liberia's leadership role in global maritime affairs at the 34th session of the International Maritime Organization Assembly. Speaking before representatives from maritime nations around the world, Dr. Yin underscored Liberia's steadfast commitment to strengthening international maritime governance and advocating the shared objectives of safety, sustainability, and global cooperation.
In this respect, distinguished delegates, the Marine Training Institute has become a post-conflict success story and is now graduating trained seafarers who are being deployed on international vessels. Madam President, distinguished delegates, I wish to assure you of Liberia's fullest cooperation and support as we work collaboratively to advance international regulations to keep our seas and oceans safe and secure and environmental. We do not have a strong military, we do not have a big economy. We rely on multilateral organizations like the IMO to make inputs and contribute to global governance. As such, as the largest international registry, we believe that we should continue to maintain a stake in the governance of the IMO. Ladies and gentlemen, I therefore call on you on behalf of the President of Liberia and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Madam Sylvester, to support Liberia's re-election to the IMO Council in Cameroon. I thank you.
And now, ahead of our news presentation is our foreign development. We'd like to bring you this story. Smart University College says it is set to join the rest of the universities around the world for the first time to observe stress-free day as a means of prioritizing the physical and mental well-being of students. The chairman of the Public Committee of the university, Philip Moore, disclosed that the stress-free day, which will be held on Friday, is intended to enhance their learning ability. Addressing the press conference in Monrovia on Tuesday, Mo explained that the activities for the stress-free day will be at the Riverside Resort, where students will be taught on the types of food released and other things.
Smart University College has introduced for the first time in Liberia a stress-free day program. Stress-free activities is a common practice by most universities around the world. Friday, November 28th of this year has been set aside as the stress-free day, thus making Smart to join other universities around the world which have specific days for stress-free activities, including relaxation for both students and faculty members. Activities marking the stress-free day will be held at the Riverside Resort near the Unity Conference Center in Virginia, Monserrado County. Students of Smart University College are expected to turn out in their numbers at the resort in Virginia. Smart University prioritizes the physical and mental well-being of the student in order to enhance their learning ability and metabolism. At the Riverside, students will engage in physical activities like swimming in the pool, team sports, and to release endorphins and reduce stress. During the program, the students will be introduced to eating habits that can fuel their brains with fresh, nutritious food.
And now, away from home, a group of military officers say they have seized control of Guinea-Bissau and made report that the president, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, has been arrested shortly after gunshots were heard in the capital, Bissau, government sources told the BBC that Imbalo had been detained. Military officials then appeared on state TV saying they had suspended the electoral process and would be in charge until further notice. West African nation had been awaiting the outcome of Sunday's presidential election, in which the main opposition candidate had been disqualified from running. Results were expected on Thursday. Both Ibalo and his closest rival, Fernando Diaz, has been declared winner of the election. Late on Wednesday afternoon, Ibalo told the France 24 in a telephone call that he was disposed. Witnesses in the South heard gun fired earlier on at around 1 p.m., but it was immediately clear who was involved in the shooting. Hundreds of people on feet in a vehicle flee seeking shelter as the shot rang out, the AFP news agency reports. And this is how we got home on today's edition of the news program. Before we take leave of you, reminder of top stories we closed it for you. National AIDS Commission dismisses social media reports claiming that Duporo community is a major hotspot for HIV and AIDS infections. Commission calls on the public to refrain from the spread of misinformation. Former employee of the Ministry of Labor accuses Labor Minister Cooper Crad of engaging in tribal favoritism in the ministry. Reverend Thomas Jones says the minister's alleged aid contribute to poor labor practices and declining performance at the ministry. Several taxpayers reportedly left stranded for days due to alleged disruption of the Liberia Revenue Authority payment window at the judiciary branch of the government. Away from home, a group of military officers say they have seized control of Guinea-Bissau, made report that the country's president, Umaru's so-called Imbalo, being arrested. On this note, we'd like to say many thanks to our reporters and editors for making today's news presentation a success. St. Andrews was here with the news. Bodafin and Newton Tokpas had a control and ably coordinated the sound. I'm Stephen Compton. Thanks for listening and watching.